Raiders, Plarium failed us once again. Yes, I am talking about the changes that Plarium made to the Hydra clan boss and the intention behind those changes. Plarium actually intended to basically bring Tronda down to a normal level where other teams can actually compete with her. The only problem is that they failed miserably at doing so. And in the process, they absolutely obliterated the entire Hydra clan boss. And I know a lot of you guys are extremely pissed off with the changes. Plarium actually released a new statement where they're kind of like explaining their mindset behind the changes and stuff. So we're going to get to that in just a second. I do want to basically point out the obvious, and that is Tronda is still the GOAT. If you guys remember the very first video I've done from the test server where I tried my Tronda team before and after, just to kind of like get an idea of what we can expect, I clearly showed you that Tronda will still one-shot heads. Tronda will still one-shot heads through Toxic Cloud. Tronda will still absolutely demolish the Hydra clan boss, while all of the rest of the other teams are stuck in a very, very bad moment right now, because they just cannot really do a lot of damage. So Tronda is still outperforming all of the other teams by 4, 5, 6x. One thing to keep in mind is that this Hydra rotation is awful for a Tronda team, because you have 3 different force heads, which makes it much, much harder for Tronda to really perform extremely, extremely well in the Hydra clan boss. But we're gonna dive into some results, some of the highest scores that we've seen so far from Tronda and other teams that were holding the world records before. But before we move over into that, guys, let's have a word from today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by Age of Empires Mobile. Yes, you've heard that right, guys. Age of Empires is coming to mobile. Now, I've been keeping a very close eye on this game for the last few months, actually, since I've heard that we are going to get a mobile version. I have thousands of hours in Age of Empires. I've always been a massive, massive fan of the franchise. Now, for whoever is not familiar what Age of Empires Mobile will be, guys, it's a medieval city-building war game, a real-time strategy game that allows you to experience pretty much everything from a city siege to large-scale wars and even mini-games. Now, if you guys like what you see on the screen and you want to get involved, especially if you are an Age of Empires fanatic like myself, you can click on the link in the description down below or in the pinned comment to download Age of Empires Mobile now. The game has been officially launched, guys, and if you use the code AOEMGL, you're gonna get 10 free extra pulls for free. This is a community-based game where alliances are very, very important. You get to build your own economy, advance your civilization, develop your army, and of course, collect famous commanders and leaders. Now, they will be the backbone of your army, okay? They will have different traits, skills, and of course, different troop preferences. Some of them will prefer archers, some cavalry, some pikesmen, some will prefer swordsmen. Now, we have 4 different types of troops in Age of Empires, guys, and of course, if you are pairing the same type of troops in all of your army, you're going to unlock additional bonuses. Now, the commanders will get to deal damage. As I mentioned, they have some very powerful skills. They get to buff and support your troops. And of course, each one of these troops will have strengths and weaknesses versus each other. One of my most favorite things related to the commanders, guys, is having the ability to actually change their skills based on your needs, which will allow you to actually create tons and tons of different fun strategies. And let's not forget about the good old villagers. They will be the backbone of your entire civilization. They will upgrade your buildings. And of course, they will collect all of the materials that you need in order to advance your civilization. If you want to get involved, click on the link in the description down below or in the pinned comment to download Age of Empires Mobile now. And don't forget to use code AOEMGL to get 10 free pulls. Thanks again to Age of Empires Mobile for sponsoring today's video. Now that we're back at it, guys, let me just quickly show you what Plarium said in the latest raid digest. So basically, they're kind of like mentioning that yes, Hydra became tougher and more challenging. This boss is meant to be endgame, and it was never intended for people to just absolutely slay the Hydra without struggling, basically, you know? Then they have discovered some bugs related to AI behavior and stuff, which is absolutely awful for ally attack champions and things like this. One of the main things why most of our teams are suffering a massive damage loss at the moment is the AI, if you were doing a auto run, basically. Then, of course, they are mentioning Tronda, and they're mentioning Corpulent Cadaver. Corpulent Cadaver is actually able to hit through the Serpent buff, guys. Now, do not get excited. Do not build a champion because it's only 200k per hit, and they will fix it. This is not something that is intended for whatever reason is a bug, okay? So it's nothing worth investing into it. And I do want to give you guys a bit of a fair warning. Beware on what teams you're investing from here on in terms of building brand new teams with Tronda or other champions like this, because by the looks of it, Plarium will have to basically do more changes because as it is, they completely failed to basically achieve their intended goal. So if I'm going to head over back right here, I'm quickly going to try to find basically... Okay, there we go. From our side, we will carefully monitor how Hydra performs as a feature and will be ready to take further steps to balance if needed. Now, there is a bit of a other issue right here, and that's the situation with people not reaching the top chests anymore in terms of Hydra Clash. And they are saying basically that if needed, they will look to adjust the difficulty multipliers for the Hydra Clash, which means like the 2x on hard, 3x on brutal, 4x on nightmare, just to mitigate that damage loss that all of the teams suffered. So, if you guys are ready now to see basically what is happening, as I mentioned in the very first video I've done, and that's probably over 1 week ago with the Tronda team on the new changes, my team is still gonna do 1 to 2 billion on hard, and I don't have a 6-star Tronda, okay? Once I'm gonna get a 6-star Tronda, I'm gonna move back into 3, 4, 5 billion damage. And you don't need any crazy champions to help you. No weak swell needed in a Tronda team. I've seen a few comments recently from people saying Tronda and weak swell together. Oh my god. No, you don't need weak swell in the team. So basically, this is one of the highest scores that I've seen so far. 1 week in after the changes. Not even 1 week in, of course, only a few days. This is a key done on Nightmare, guys. And this is 4 billion damage with Tronda. Now, the irony of it is a lot of people used to say Yumeko is the problem. Double Yumeko is the problem. Take out Yumeko and Tronda won't be dealing crazy damage, which was never the case because Tronda can deal crazy damage with plenty of different champions. You have Athena right here, which can reset cooldowns. You have White Dryania, the epic champion that can reset cooldowns. Skymar, Crixia. Then, of course, you have Lady Irate. All of these champions can basically decrease the cooldowns of Tronda every single time, okay? Which means that Tronda is going to go absolutely berserk. So it's nothing to do with double Yumeko, and hopefully this will kind of like shed a bit of clarity why was not necessary to modify how Yumeko works. In fact, it's all about the firepower of Tronda. Even after the changes, this is a very solid result, considering that this rotation is absolutely awful. So on a better rotation, this damage can go all the way up to 6 billion with the exact same team without making any other changes to his team. So this is the highest score so far, 4 billion damage with Tronda. Moving over to one of my clanmates right here. This is, of course, on Nightmare. The old team, you will have to do changes. So the changes that you need to do for all of these teams and for pretty much every single team is modify the speeds. And I'm going to show you on my team in a second when I'm going to go and basically explain you what I've done to my team, how I adjusted my speeds and stuff. So this is almost 3 billion on Nightmare, right? With a bit of a testing, nothing too crazy. This again on a better rotation is going to transform. It will go up to 5 billion, right? This rotation is just awful for Tronda. Then we have another clanmate of mine right here. Seta is on Brutal, 4+ billion damage. +1 Tronda, not even a +4. And you have Chris, Gurptag, Balenor, Fina, and Glakehead. No double Yumeko, no other fancy things, right? And is a very, very impressive damage. Then, this is Tronda. Then the world record team that was holding the record before the changes on Nightmare, except Tronda, was done by my clanmate Seta. It's the same person that did this run. And this key right here is actually made by Ovi, another clanmate of mine. But this is, right now, the world record on Hydra Nightmare for a non-Tronda team. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that this team right here, guys, doesn't really care much about rotations on Hydra because Ieyasu is Void Affinity. So this is a 1.5 billion damage. Tronda will exceed this by 3 times, 4 times in some cases, depending on the rotations. And of course, the more we're diving into the changes, the more testing we're doing, the crazier results we're going to get. So this is the proof right here that Plarium failed us once again. They completely failed to achieve their intended goal, and that is make Tronda equal with other teams that are able to compete with her. That means that yes, Tronda can still be number 1 with a difference of a few 100 million damage, 500 million damage. But when you have results where Tronda does 2x, 3x, 4x, and 5x soon, yes, it's clear that they failed. And the reason why I'm saying it is because they will 100% do more changes in the future. Now, it might take them again 1 year. In the process, more people will be spending money and try to get Tronda, etc. But they will have eventually to correct what they've done. And I'm not sure if they're planning to correct any of the changes to the actual Hydra clan boss, but I do have a couple of suggestions that I basically got from the community as well. This one right here, guys, is not made by any clanmates of mine. I actually forgot who did this, but this is Toshiro, right? Toshiro should be actually a bit better than Ieyasu this time around. Of course, he suffers of the same situation like Tronda, Hydra rotations, force affinity and stuff. But probably on a better rotation, he does have the potential to do more damage. And this is 1.3 billion. Still miles off from Tronda, guys. So I just wanted to basically show you all of these things because yeah, it is a bit over the top. Now, a couple of things that would help with the Hydra clan boss, except modifying the AI, is basically when you have the Hydra head spawning with the Serpent buffs. Plarium mentioned that it won't happen very often where all of your heads will have the Serpent buff. It happens so freaking often, guys, you have no idea. But probably you do have an idea because you've seen it on your own team. It happens so often when 3 heads have the Serpent buff and they take 0 damage. So I feel like they need to basically ensure, they need to modify the way this buff works, and only 2 heads can have it at the same time, maximum. No matter how they spawn, no matter what they do. Because this is really reducing the damage overall. Now, there comes another problem. Tronda will deal more damage if that's the case. So basically, it all revolves around Tronda. The reason why we have 100% damage reduction on the Hydra heads is because of Tronda. If they were not implementing these changes, Tronda was still able to one-shot the heads, and the proof of it is basically the fact that Tronda can still one-shot full health heads when they have a Toxic Cloud on with the weak hit, because she deals so much damage, right? So if they were not implementing the 100% damage reduction, Tronda was still always one-shotting the heads. So that's basically a safe mechanic to counter Tronda rather than to counter any other champion in the game. Then, another suggestion that I've got from some of you guys in the comments was to ensure that the Hydra heads that will have the Serpent buff will be immune to decrease speed debuff. That is massive, okay? Because if you're not going to put decreased speed on them, means that they will take a turn faster and they will lose that buff faster. Now, of course, one of the main issues that all of the teams have right now is cycling fast enough through their cooldowns on the skills. Because you're killing the heads so fast that your champions just won't have enough time to basically decrease the cooldown of the skills that they've just used before, right? So that's a bit of an issue. Reflex, impulse sets, merciless sets will be very, very important moving forward from here on most of your support champions. And I feel like they definitely need to look into it and do some changes to this mechanic, because I feel like this is something that pisses the majority of you guys off. Now, leaving all that on the side, this is my Tronda team right here. Now, I will look to make some different changes to increase my damage a little bit, and most likely I'm going to drop the White Dryanias, bring in a Kaimar, bring in a Gerptek, bring in something else that will allow me to deal more damage. And that will make me go to like 3+ billion without having much of an issue. Now, what I've done on this team, guys, I actually dropped all of the speeds by 30 speed on each one of these champions. So I'm going to show you in a second the screenshot with the old speeds that I had, or I'm going to show you the speeds that I have on my champions right now. So Tronda has 210 speed. She was at 240 speed. Then we have Duchess, who's the fastest in the team, at 257. She was at like 290 before. We have Yumeko. She was at 270. Now she's at 239. By doing this, I'm gonna basically avoid hitting the heads with a serpent buff all the time. Let me show you how my Tronda team works now after the changes. So I'm not going to one-shot the heads from the first try. With the A2, we don't crit anymore on the second hit, but we have that passive that gives us 50% increased attack when we land HP burn. That is absolutely massive because we're going to be able to basically one-shot all of the heads again after we're doing that. So let me just quickly show you how it works. So we're going to go in with the A2. You're going to see that we're now one-shotting the heads, right? You see? Now I'm going to back out. I'm going to back out. You've seen we left them with at least 30+% HP. I'm going to use the A2. I'm going to get that HP burn instead first. Plus, it's much better to start like that in this rotation because you're going to have the Toxic Cloud. And because we lowered the speeds on our team, now we are in full control, more or less, on what heads we're killing. How are we killing the heads? How many will have the Serpent buff? So that gives us tremendous power over the Hydra. Let me just quickly show you if we're going to go in with this. We're going to put HP burn. So now we got 1, 2, 3 HP burns. We increased the attack on Tronda by 30%. While in the process, we almost obliterated all of the heads, right? So let's reset that. Reset that, because now we're going to go with the A2, and this time around we are going to deal some serious damage. Now pay attention to this head. It's Force Affinity. If we're not going to weak hit, we're going to melt it, even though it has that Poison Cloud on. It doesn't matter. So that's why Plarium was basically... that's why Plarium implemented that Serpent buff mechanic at 100% damage reduction. Bang! And it just happened like that. So in a situation like this, you don't have much control over the affinity, but the main thing that you're kind of like trying to do is to try and kill all of the heads at the same time. You want to break all of the HP on all of them at the same time. Now, as you may notice, one has hacks, one doesn't. That is magic affinity. So I'm going to go for the magic one because we're going to splash more damage to the other one. So there you go. And just like this, we're going to make all of them spawn out. 2 will have the buff, 2 will be without the buff, right? Check this out. So right now, yes, we are going to deal basically 0 damage onto the heads with a Serpent buff. But either way, we're on turn 4 and we're at 56 million damage. Right here, we're going to attack one of these heads, and I'm hoping that we're not going to weak hit on the Head of Mischief, basically. So Tronda, okay, not enough firepower just yet. We need to basically up a bit that damage with the passive. We can do this. They're going to get a cleanse anyway, so it's not as relevant. This is a bit of a more weird situation with the Toxic Cloud right here, but that's fine. I really, even if I was putting the HP burn, actually, the cleanse was going to happen. So I feel like the Head of Mischief might go down. Weak hit. Okay. Not a problem. We're going to take the Head of Mischief down in a second. So it will happen where things like this will mess you up, right? It's a bit harder to control these things. That's why the damage will get reduced a bit more. And that's why the rotations will matter so much. The affinities, right? So having too many force heads is basically going to be a bit of a problem. But we're going to take out the Head of Mischief right here. I have no defense down, so it's no point to use the A2. I want to land the HP burn, preferably. There we go. So like this, we're basically going to stack that passive. Now we are at 40%. So I still have 10% more to get on Tronda before she can go really, really ham. So imagine how much attack you're going to have on your Tronda now. So most likely, the changes that they will have to do is reduce that ignore defense part. You see, Toxic Cloud is just gone. Reduce that, maybe reduce some of the attack from the passive, or who knows, they might surprise us and introduce new mechanics in the Hydra once again, which is definitely something that we don't want, because they really killed the fun on the Hydra clan boss right now. So I'm gonna have 2 heads spawn at the same time now. Plus we kill 2, so those 2 come out, 1 with a buff, 1 without. What I'm gonna do again, if I'm not gonna weak hit on the 4th head, I'm gonna have 2 more heads coming on at the same time while I'm killing 1 from the other one. So check this out. Hopefully we're not gonna weak hit though. That's the whole idea. So let's reset Yumeko again. Let's reset the entire team, and here we go. No weak hit, which is beautiful. 2 coming out, 1 with a buff, 1 without, 1 decapitated. So now rinse and repeat. That's what I was saying in terms of having control. Now the only problem is that is force head, and the other head is gonna cleanse the heads that are up and running, which means that my Tronda might be in a bit of a pickle. But what I'm gonna do right here is use this skill to max the passive and get HP burn on all of them. And I'm gonna try to basically break the one that's dead. That's gonna come back with a buff, because there isn't much that I can do about. But I'm gonna kill 3 of them if I'm not weak hitting, right? So that's gonna be very, very important. So let's try to put a hex on one of the force ones. That will basically increase a bit the damage. Okay. Let's see if we can break that one with a shield and with a toxic cloud without defense down and weaken. But hopefully we're not gonna weak hit. So let's find out. Bang. So that's why they've implemented that mechanic, guys. I just wanted to show you that my Tronda team, your Tronda team, will still be able to be the top on your account, which is a bit annoying in terms of why they had to do what they've done to the shield teams, why they haven't just reduced a bit the shield so those teams can still become a bit competitive. You know, but either way, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I just wanted to basically touch on this topic again. Yes, they failed to achieve their goal, and most likely they will do different things in the future. As usual, appreciate all of you guys watching. Don't forget, if you want to get involved with Age of Empires Mobile, guys, you can download the game by clicking the link in the description down below. And as usual, much love, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.